All right, we are live. Another episode of NCAA basketball predictions. It's your boy Vegan Eddie here with Sean. We're going to break down the matchups for later on this week. I think games actually start tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Tomorrow night, like 7 o'clock ish, I believe.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think they go into war. I think they go until Friday. So yeah, lots of fun matchups.
Got four games Thursday, 4 games Friday, and then 2 Saturday, 2 Sunday.
Okay. Well, we're going to be busy. That's for sure. Both betting and watching.
Got my ass beat Friday, Saturday in the betting.
I actually did pretty well. I did well, but I was doing single bets. I wasn't doing any parlays.
I was doing great all month, and then second day of tournament hit and lost about half of my winnings.
Well, at least you kept half. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's start with the South region. We have Auburn and Michigan. Now, I want to say last time I was not very fond on Michigan. They somehow found a way to win. I think both of us were really high on UC San Diego.
And no.
You didn't like UC San Diego.
This is one we were split on right here.
Okay. But we were both high on Yale, though. That was
yes. We both like Yale.
Yeah, we both like Yale. Unfortunately,
they kept it close.
Well, they kept it closer than San Diego, though.
Well, San Diego.
Sorry. San Diego kept it closer than Yale.
True. Yeah, San Diego was getting dominated in the first half, and then made a huge comeback, and they could have won. Like, no doubt, could have won the game.
Yeah, I felt like they couldn't make any shots towards the end.
Yeah, it was impressive comeback. I mean, like you said, they are good. Just fell short. They ran out of time, essentially.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, they didn't have enough of the juice, and so they end up losing to Michigan, and Michigan got what I would have considered a very favorable matchup in Texas A&M, who I did not believe in at all. We all picked Yale. And, of course, Michigan washed them. So here we are with Michigan and Auburn. How do you think this is going to go down?
I think Auburn's probably gonna win. Like I said, I did like Michigan in the first round and the second round because of their big guys, Wolf and the Russian guy Golden there, and they have carried them for sure. I mean, they were dominating both games, no doubt. I think Auburn's got too much. Obviously, they got Janai Broom inside to deal with them, I guess. There is 2 of them, 1 of him, but he is a local Tampa guy, by the way, Janai Broom. Yeah, I think Auburn's got too much of the guards. Michigan's guard play is not the best. They got that Donaldson kid who's solid, Gale, but they don't really stack up with what Auburn's got out there with Chad Baker-Mazara. He's like 25 years old. That helps in college, I think. Miles Kelly, Denver Jones, Pettiford, they got a bunch of guards that I just think they got too much for them. They were the best team all year. They did slip up a little bit here at the end, but the second half versus Creighton, I mean, they kind of showed what they're made of, because Creighton had them on the ropes in the first half. That was a rough matchup with Kalkbrenner there for Creighton. That guy is tough inside, especially on defense. So now they got to deal with 2 big guys, but I just think the guard play is going to be the difference here for Auburn.
Yeah, I mean, Auburn, Vegas pretty much doesn't lie. I mean, they do lie, but not when it comes to making money. I mean, they have Auburn at negative 400. I think the way I look at it, let me start off with Michigan. I think Dusty May has done a good job with the program. Definitely after Beeline had left. So I do like what Michigan has been able to accomplish thus far. I just don't know if they have enough to beat Auburn. Auburn Offensively, I think is a great team. Of course, as I mentioned last week, they rank ninth nationally in points per game. So they're going to score points. We know that, right? The first game they scored 83. The second game they scored 82. So they're going to get points. It's just a matter of whether or not Michigan can stop them or not. And I don't know if they do. Auburn rebounds way better than Michigan, and those second chance points are going to come to haunt them. And Michigan averages about 14 turnovers per game. And to me, that tells me that they're going to have a lot of mistakes. So I really do like Auburn in this matchup. I just don't think Michigan's a good matchup for them. So I think Michigan's probably going to lose by, I don't know, probably about 8 to 10 points. I
Yeah,
think,
I would. I like you said, I think the line's around that number, and Vegas doesn't really
yeah,
lie or anything. So I could see that being about right. I think they'll keep it. The first half will be close, like Creighton did. They might get comfortable in the last 10 minutes or so. We'll see. It's the tournament, so you don't know. Dusty May, like you said, is a great coach. Obviously, Bruce Pearl is too, but
yeah.
I don't know. The best team all year. Michigan is hot, but I don't know. I just think the difference is going to be the two big guys are going to not be able to do as much here.
Hey, I mean, listen, Golden had a great game last game. He had 12 rebounds, 23 points, a walking double-double, but I just don't think he had much competition. I think Broom is going to give him a lot of competition. So and matter of fact, Broom is actually a contender for National Player of the Year. So
It's
there's that.
down between him and Cooper Flag, and they'll probably give it to Flag because that's what capitalism wants.
They probably will give it to Cooper Flag. I do have a dark horse, and we'll see what happens with Maryland when we get there. But yeah, I think Cooper Flag is definitely the front runner. Number two, definitely Broom, and then in my personal opinion, I think number three, you could put one of the guys in Maryland there, whoever is more clutch down the stretch. Because honestly, Maryland, a lot of people didn't think they would get this far.
No, they've been very good all year too. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we'll chalk this in for Auburn.
it's been
We can't.
chalky, so we might as well chalk it up.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, if this was chalky, then the next one's going to be even more chalky, probably. Mississippi and Michigan State. Now, we'll give you credit. You did not like Iowa State against Mississippi. Well, technically
That
North Carolina, but you did
yeah.
mention that Iowa had a lot of injuries.
I also didn't like Iowa State in the first game, and they won by like 30, I believe. So there goes that.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, Mississippi are upset, happy, beating Iowa State. So, but they have a tough one against Michigan State. How do you see this one?
I think I said last week, like you said, I not like Mississippi to begin with, but I do love Chris Beard as a coach.
Yeah,
I honestly I don't know that much about him. I didn't see really any of the Ole Miss Carolina game. Carolina had that big comeback, which you were telling me about as it was going down. Um, and then I didn't watch that much of the game versus Iowa State, but they crushed them. They dominated the game. I don't like how much did they win that game by? They won
you're
by
talking about
13. They beat Iowa State by 13.
yeah.
So that, I mean that's impressive right there. But Michigan State, I mean, God, I've always been a Michigan State hater. It's bad. My bias is bad with them. I in the first round I said Bryant was my number one team to look out for, and the first 20 minutes I felt very good about that versus Michigan State. And then the second half, Michigan State just flexed on them,
Dominated.
and yeah, they crushed them. Vegas does not like Michigan State by much here. I know that from what I was just looking before we got on here. I don't know. Michigan State again, being a hater, but they've been extremely good all season. I can't deny it. New Mexico, they gave them a run for their money. New Mexico was a good team,
Yeah.
no doubt. Their Patino's son there. He's going to coach Xavier now. Again, I love Chris Beard, but I do think Izzo is the more seasoned, proven Hall of Famer. And usually Izzo loses games when he matches up versus talent that is just superior, which I don't think is the case here. So I like Michigan State to be chalky again here. They've been tough all year. I mean, they're 29-6 or something like that. So
yeah, I like Michigan State as well. I just don't like Mississippi. I don't know any of their players. They don't have any standout players. Neither does Michigan State.
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing with Michigan State. Like their top scorer is like 13 points a game. They do have Jason Richardson, son, as I'm sure you know.
Chase Richardson, yeah.
Right, Jace, who's he's only averaging 12 points, but he's a freshman and he wasn't really a starter in the first half of the season. They're just this just seems like two solid teams with two great coaches. It should be a close game, hard fought, and I think Michigan State will come out on top, but I do think it'll be very close. I don't know. Michigan State normally likes to muck things up and be low scoring, but they kind of have. I think they average 80 points a game this year, so we'll see. The one player I do know on
78 to be exact. Yeah.
There you go. On Mississippi is Sean Padula. He's got to be like a graduate senior. He played for Virginia Tech for years, so being a Syracuse fan, I watched him in the ACC a ton. He's averaging 15, 3.5, and 4 assists, 2 steals, 40% from 3. He's very good, but yeah, I really don't know the other guys. But they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys averaging over 10 points. So that's team basketball right there.
That's team basketball, but none of those guys stand out to me, right?
Right. The Sean Padula kid is their best player, no doubt about it. And you need guards to win, but that's what Michigan State has too, is guards. So I like State. I like State in here to move on.
Yeah, I like State as well. I think Vegas actually. Let me see. What do they have it? I think they have it.
It's not a big number.
No, it's not really big. But I think Michigan will probably win a very close game. I mean, as you mentioned, Padula is the Rebels' top scorer. He's actually pretty good on defense, actually, too. 1.8 steals.
Two steals a game is impressive.
Yeah. So I think defensively, the Rebels will keep it close. And they've been really good defensively. They held Iowa State, who actually was one of the top scoring teams coming into the tournament, to only 78 points. And then North Carolina completely shut them down. I mean, North Carolina wasn't hitting any shots. And actually, the game was a lot worse than what the score indicates. North Carolina is getting completely destroyed in the first half. So, yeah, I think Mississippi can make it interesting. But like you mentioned, Tom Izzo, he's been here before. He's more seasoned. He'll get the most out of his guys. Michigan State's a very efficient basketball team. So, yeah, I think Michigan State will win. And I think they'll win rather easily.
Yeah, I don't think easily. I think it'll be close. But Ole Miss, honestly, outside of beating Carolina and Iowa State, they didn't really beat anybody outside the SEC during the season. Their best wins were in the SEC, basically. So
4-9 in the top 25 at that as well.
Right. They lost to Memphis. Yeah.
And that's my issue with them. Like I don't know, they're kind of playing out of their minds right now. They got Jalen Murray, Malik Dia, who's a 6'9" center. I don't know.
Looking at some advanced stats I got pulled up here, Michigan State is 6th in total defense. And then they're 1st in the country in defending the perimeter.
But every game has been close, though, right?
For Michigan State?
Yeah, No, Mississippi. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No. I'm saying Michigan State is like our best defense. This advanced stat here, analytics, number one defensive perimeter team in the country, Michigan State.
Yeah, they hold teams to 27.8% from behind the arc, which is pretty
Right,
good.
that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'll be up and down, fast paced, but I think it'll be close. But I do like Michigan State to pull it out at the end. Honestly, I think of the majority of these games are going to be close because we don't have those mid-major Cinderellas in here. The best players on the mid-majors are now on these big schools because they transferred to get paid. That's kind of what's happened.
Right. A matter of fact, I think the only real quote unquote Cinderella may be Arkansas, which is not really a Cinderella because they got Calipari.
Right. No, that's not a Cinderella. They're ranked 16th preseason.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. All right. So I think we both agree Michigan State. So we're looking at an Auburn, Michigan State Elite Eight. All right. So next, let's go to the East. Duke and Arizona. Make me so everybody likes Duke. Give me your best case scenario for Arizona. Let's start there.
Best case scenario for Arizona is former Tar Heel Caleb scores 30 plus points. He went off last game. He hates Duke. He knows Duke. The guy, I mean, he's either very hot or very cold. That's the type of player he's been his whole career. He generally is pretty hot in the big moments. So, I mean, if Love can carry them, we'll see what they can do. I mean,
Tyrese Proctor is pretty good. Well, sorry, we'll get to Duke. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, outside of Caleb Love, I mean they got, I don't know, guy averaging Jaden Bradley 12, KJ Lewis 11, but they're pretty balanced.
Awaka had 14 rebounds last game.
Right. They got, that guy averaged 8 boards a game, which is a lot for college, of course.
Yeah.
How big is he? He's only 6'8", 250. Duke's got that 7'2" freshman from like Sudan or some shit. somewhere in Africa, you know.
Where is he from? Let me see.
But I mean, Arizona's got a 7-foot Estonian.
Come on, Mulak.
Yeah, him.
Yeah. Let me find out which African country.
Arizona has Henry Vassar, a 7-foot Estonian.
Yeah. He's actually, I mean, he scores a little bit better than Mulak, but he doesn't rebound, which is kind of weird. He only averages 5 rebounds per game.
Right. And the Townsend guy, how big is he?
Mulak
6'6". Yeah, they're, other than the foreign guy there, they're kind of undersized. I mean, Cooper Flagg is what, like 6'9" himself?
Yeah.
I don't know. The best case for Arizona is Duke is cold, which is tough because they have so many good players, so many good shooters. Proctor was going off last game. And Caleb Love goes off for Arizona. That's their only hope right there. Duke has a poor shooting game, and Caleb Love puts up about 30 or more.
Yeah. The only way I see it going down is if you look at the games that Duke has played, I mean, they scored 93 against Mount St. Mary's, which to me that doesn't really count, but they scored 89 against Baylor. Baylor is actually a pretty decent team.
I mean, Baylor was not. I watched a lot of that. They never felt in the game. They never could get it to that point.
Yeah. So my best case scenario is that they go toe to toe, 3 for 3, back to back threes. They just try to keep up with Duke, and it's going to have to be a high-scoring game. I don't see this game being a low-scoring game. Matter of fact, if
No.
anybody out there is listening that's going to make a bet, I would bet the over in this game. I mean, Duke is going to score 90 probably in this game, and Arizona is going to try to score 90. So
Arizona averaged 82 points a game themselves. Duke is very high scoring, great shooting. Yeah, I mean, there should be, I don't know what the total is, but it's got to be what, 160 or so, or even more than that.
yes, anything
Oh no,
over.
it's all ESPN's got 154.5. I'll be taking that one.
Easily take that. I mean, Arizona and Oregon alone went what was that, 170?
87, 84, I think it was. So yeah, 171.
Yeah, 170. Yeah. And Oregon is nowhere close to being an offensive powerhouse as Duke.
And I don't know if you watched any of that game, but I mean, Oregon was
a game.
They were pounding Arizona the first 10 minutes. It was like 20-2 or something. And then Caleb Love scored 30 points, and Arizona just got back into it quick.
Well, I like to call him Dana Choke Job Altman. Because he'll get you to the second round, but every time he is going to choke. I don't even know if they've even been to the Sweet 16 under Altman. I mean, maybe once. But
you know what's interesting is Duke and Arizona played in November, which it's tough to really count those games at this point. That's a different season, essentially. They're just starting out. It was 69-55 Duke, so extremely low scoring in November, but I just don't see that happen again. These teams are now in the Sweet 16, firing on all cylinders, especially Duke. It's got to be high scoring. I see Duke. I hope Arizona covers because I probably will take it because I hate Duke.
What is the line, by the way?
It was 9 or 9.5 when I was looking earlier.
Okay.
I could see Duke winning by double digits, though, but I don't know. We'll see. Chalky. It just feels chalky. Duke's been so good all year.
I mean, Arizona's a double-digit losing team this year. I mean,
They started off poor, though. They were like 5-5, 5-4, something like that. But they lost. If I look in here, they were beating up on these shit teams. They lost to Wisconsin. We know how they turned out. They lost to Duke. We know how they turned out. They lost to Oklahoma, who was in the tournament. They lost to West Virginia, who should have been in the tournament. They lost to UCLA. So they start off 2-3-3. Hold on. 1-2, 2-2, 3-2, 3-4, 4-4. They start off 4-5. So what's their record now?
24-12.
So they're 20-7 since their poor start. So,
and to be fair, they've actually played more. They played actually tougher teams than Duke. They were 7-5 against the top 25, where Duke was only 3-2.
Yeah, because Duke played. The ACC sucked ass this year, and they proved it. They proved it immediately in the
North Carolina proved it.
Louisville proved it. Clemson proved it. Yeah,
Clemson was never even ranked this year. I don't think, right?
They got ranked pretty high. They were very good all year, and I don't know. I was at work, so I only saw the end of the game. But McNeese clearly dominated that game. I know it ended up being like a less than 5 points, but Clemson just was like they were falling and hitting threes for like the last 5 minutes, essentially, like just clawing back.
Oh,
but Clemson had a Clemson had a very good record. They were like
27-7. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like 18-2 in the ACC. They're the only Duke lost to Clemson this year. Only ACC loss for them.
Yeah, UNC was pretty bad. I mean, Wake Forest, SMU, all were better than them. And
yeah, Wake Forest and SMU, bubble teams. They just had a gaudy conference record, but the conference sucked. So that's why I didn't make it,
Yeah.
I think I hate it so much, but I just think Duke gets by here.
Yeah, I think Duke gets by. I don't. My best case scenario for Arizona, like I said, is that they make it a high scoring game. Um, the over and under is actually is 53.5. I'm taking it. I mean, I think Duke is going to put up 90 points. It's really a matter of whether Arizona is going to score 80 or not. Which
Line's been going up. I saw it open at like 151 or something. So
yeah, it's moved up a little bit.
Right, people are on that side.
I mean, dude, Duke makes 10 threes per game. I don't know. I don't really see Arizona having much of a choice, not much of a chance. But hey, crazy things have happened in the past. I don't know. I think Duke may even go for 100. I mean, yeah.
I mean, they just scored whatever, 90 or something last game, you said?
Yeah, they scored 89 against, and Baylor's a tough team.
Right, 89 points on Baylor.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, yeah, I mean, this one's easy. We're all going for Duke here. All right. So, next game would be BYU and Alabama. BYU pretty much shocked the world by beating Wisconsin, beat them by 2 points. BYU is one of those teams that can score a lot of points on you. They ended the season fantastically this year. 5-4 against top 25 teams. They're a strong team. They have that 6'9" guy, Igor, I think it's his name. Yep. He's pretty good. He's a freshman from Russia. Shout out to all the Russians that are playing.
Shout out Putin.
Yeah, shout out Putin, exactly. I think BYU is going to keep it competitive, maybe in the first half, maybe even going into the second half. But I think Alabama just has too much of a team to beat them. But I'll listen to your thoughts on this. I think Alabama is stacked.
So yeah, I do have Bama winning, but they do not play defense, and BYU scores a lot of points. I think this is going to be another down to the wire. I feel like the only one I haven't said down to the wire is probably Duke, Arizona. Yeah, I mean, BYU can score with Alabama. Alabama doesn't play defense. It's just going to be, to me, it's like a race to 90 in this game. Whoever gets to 90 first is going to win. BYU put up 91 on Wisconsin, who was also a high-scoring team. That was 91-89. They put up on 80 on VCU, an extremely good defensive team. Bama, they were in trouble versus Robert Morris in the first round because they don't play defense. Let Robert Morris score 81 on them. But then they played St. Mary's. I mean, that's a terrible matchup for St. Mary's, just with the stylistic differences. Usually teams can slow the fast-paced teams down, but Bama is like the exception to that. They are going to go 100 miles per hour. I don't care who they're playing. I didn't think St. Mary's had much of a chance in that in the first place, and they didn't. I think this one goes down to the wire. I feel like this is a toss-up, honestly, just because BYU can score with them. And they haven't played a team. Robert Morris could not score with them. St. Mary's cannot score with them. BYU can.
Well, the interesting thing about that Robert Morris game is that Alabama did everything correctly. They scored 50. They shot 58% from the field. They were very efficient, but yet the game was very close. The problem with Alabama is that they're horrible defensively as far as defensive rebounding. They gave up 18 rebounds to Robert Morris, and I don't even know anybody that plays on Robert Morris. So that may come to haunt them. And just looking at the last couple of scores, I mean, Alabama, of course, 80 points, 90 points against Robert Morris. Before that, they had 82 against Florida, who did score 104 against them, 99 against Kentucky. The Auburn games are always going to be high scoring. They were 93 against 91. They played Florida again, 99, 94, 79, 79, 76 against Tennessee. So they're high scoring games. And so you just haven't had to keep pace. But to your point, Alabama is going to give up a lot of points. They're going to give up offensive rebounds, and they're going to get a lot of second chances. I just don't know if BYU can keep up that type of pace throughout an entire game. I think BYU, to me, seems like a more, from the game that I saw against, not even against Wisconsin, against VCU. Maybe VCU is probably a better defensive team, but to me, they seem like a very slow, methodic type of team. But we'll see. I mean, the Cougars the BYU Cougars are very efficient offensively.
I'm looking at these advanced stats I got here. Offensive efficiency, BYU is 5th, Alabama is
in the
4th.
nation.
In the nation, I have 350 whatever teams. So some big discrepancies I see here is BYU is 124th in height. Alabama's 5th, so that's a big difference there.
Well, and that's what I think is probably going to be the difference, right? I think they're not going to be able to get as many offensive rebounds as like the other teams did in Alabama, but they can shoot, though. BYU makes about 10 3-point shots per game.
They are 27th in the country in 3-point percentage, BYU, so, and 20th in attempts. So they are very, very bad defending the three, BYU, 248th. So that is very bad.
And Alabama's very good at making threes as well, too, right?
Exactly, right. They're not as good at percentage-wise, but they shoot a ton as well, and they play the fastest in the country. That's part of why they give up so many points, is they're just going up and down, up and down. Another thing I notice here is turnovers. BYU is 204th in turnovers, so that's not very good. But on the other end, Alabama doesn't force turnovers. They're 351, so they're essentially the worst team in the country almost at forcing turnovers.
Well, I mean, of course, they're not going to force turnovers. I mean, they're running
up and down, up and down, up and down. I think you're just looking at a race and hell, it could be a race to 100. Honestly, should be very entertaining. Should be very entertaining. Honestly, you could look at 100 to 95 here. We'll see, but.
Oh, no, I definitely think it's going to go to that. I think it's going to be, well, Vegas has it at 175 over and under, but
I think it's the highest number in the history of the Sweet 16. I read earlier, something like that.
Oh, really?
Wow. Yeah. Maybe even the tournament. It could have been the tournament highest ever.
Well, I think both teams are going to definitely score over 80 points. Over 90 looks very possible.
I have a hard time gambling that line, that number, but I felt that way all.
What is it at now?
It was like 175 or something, somewhere in there. I had a hard time with that during the season, and every time I saw the end score for Alabama, I was like, I was wrong again. So I do like Bama to win, but I just think it'll be very close with the offense for both teams.
Alabama gave up 110 points to Missouri.
Yeah.
This is a team that will give up a lot of points. I don't know. At first I was thinking, okay, I like Bama in this game, but since you read off those numbers about how efficient BYU is, I don't know. This was a toss-up. I'm actually going to say, if there's going to be an upset, I think this is going to be it. Just because BYU may actually just make more 3-point shots than Alabama.
For sure. And the thing with BYU, like you said in the beginning, they're on fire. They've lost one game since what's the date here? One game since February 11th, and that was to Houston. So I definitely think BYU can win, no doubt. I am sticking, my pick is Bama, but I definitely think BYU can win the game, no doubt.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go with Bama. But this one's definitely a toss-up or a push 'em. I'll pick 'em.
It's a pick 'em. It's a pick 'em.
Yeah. All right, we're moving down. All right, the West region, um, Florida and Maryland. I'm
That's
biased,
all.
so
That's all you. Okay, that's all you.
I'm
You're
a,
Maryland. Go ahead.
I'm a. The Crab Five.
That's a great, great nickname.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. My heart wants to go with Maryland here. Um, but I was really shocked on how close Colorado State kept that game.
Me too.
Um, I thought Maryland was going to beat Colorado State comfortably, like not blow them out, but a good 8 to 6 points. But the fact that they kept it close was very shocking. And Maryland, of course, won on the buzzer beater. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I think first of all, Maryland is a 3 point shooting team. So if they hit the 3 point shots, they're going to keep it close. Florida is just a very efficient team, and I don't think Florida's going to beat themselves. And I don't even know if Maryland is going to make enough easy shots to keep the game close. The thing is, the only reason why Maryland even kept the game close with Colorado State is because they shot the 3 point ball so well. And almost every shot that went in, with the exception of a couple down the stretch, were all 3 point shots. So I just don't think you can live like that, especially against really good teams like Florida. But anything can happen. I think Maryland has a very good defensive team. Julian Reese, and the big boy in the middle who made the game winning shot. I know I'm
He
blanking
had
on his
that
name.
at Derek Queen.
Derek Queen, yeah,
He had
who's my sleeper to win the player of the year, by the
he
way.
had the NBA game winner, 3 steps, game winner.
It was definitely a James Harden-esque type.
I had to watch it. I had to watch it a few times. You could call that first step his gather step or whatever you want to call it. It's very close, but yeah, it'd be
you,
tough to call. It'd be tough to call
yeah,
that
you're not
travel right
calling that.
there. It'd be tough.
Yeah,
But that play will never be called a travel in the NBA. So he'll be
yeah,
playing there next year. So he's fine.
yeah, yeah. So yeah,
Uh,
I'm gonna say this best case scenario, Maryland can probably win it in overtime. But Florida is just such a good team. I just don't know. I don't know. But Connecticut, they had a hard time beating Connecticut, UConn.
yeah. I mean,
So,
UConn should have won. UConn should have won the game. They had it in their control in the last. I mean, really, up until the last 5 to 10 minutes. I think Maryland is easily one of the most overlooked, underrated teams on the season. Period. I mean, they've been very, very good. And they kind of get overshadowed. I feel like in the Big Ten because they're not that.
they're not Michigan. They're not a Michigan
Right.
State.
They're not
Yeah.
Michigan. They're not Michigan State. People don't think of them as like basketball school anymore per se, or really anything, or football either. But they're definitely more of a basketball school. They're not Purdue. They're not Michigan. They're not Michigan State. They've failed in the tournament recently up until this year. I clearly am going with Florida because I picked them to win the national championship. I think they're the best team that I've watched all season. They are relentless. Florida is absolutely relentless. Elijah Martin, Walter Clayton Jr., Richard, whatever the hell it is. I don't know how to pronounce it. But those 3 guards do not stop attacking. They also have good big guys. I mean, I think the fact that they really had to fight for their life versus UConn is a huge advantage for Florida. They had that game where it was like, we're playing Connecticut. They won back-to-back titles. Like, this is
Mm-hmm.
still the championship team, the championship coach, and they had them on the ropes and they fought back and they won. So if you look at the in-depth numbers, to be honest, Maryland has less anomalies on like the bad side of things than Florida does. Florida is not a good free throw shooting team. They turn it over a lot. They foul a lot. Maryland, if you look at them, Their 2-point percentage is not great, and their
That's
offensive
what I'm saying. They
rebound.
have to shoot threes. Like
Yeah,
they're live or
their
die
three
by
point
the three.
percentage is great. They're 23rd in the
Yeah.
country in 3-point percentage. But
Where are they in the country in 3-point attempts? That's where you really have to look at as well.
they don't shoot a lot of them. They're only 272 in attempts.
Maryland?
But yeah.
Oh.
But they make a lot. They make, if you're shooting the right ones, you make a lot.
That's an interesting statistic. They're up there with the most made, but not up there with the most attempted.
Their 3-point defense is great too, Maryland, that is. But here's the thing. Florida's 3-point defense, Maryland 14th in the country. 3-point defense, Florida 5th in the country. Rebounding, huge advantage. Florida 74th in the country versus 8th in the country. Again, I think Maryland is very, very good, but I just think Florida's the best team, and that game that they pulled out last week will help them in this situation. They've been tested, and I like Florida to win by, I don't know, about 10 probably.
10?
Yeah.
See, Vegas is only giving them 5.5.
I know.
I don't see 10, especially with the way they played against UConn. I can see maybe 5 or 8. I think Maryland's going to keep it close just with the 3-point shots. And just again, to compare to the Colorado game, Colorado had a very good game efficiently, 46% from the field. Only took up 10 free throws, but you shoot 46% juxtaposed to Maryland only shooting 42% from the field, but 41% from the behind the arc for Maryland as they went 10 for 24 and 10 for 12 from free throws. So they're very efficient there as well. I think if Maryland hits their threes, and they're going to have to hit about 40% of them, 45 probably to win it, I can see them pulling off an upset. They're not BYU upset pick worthy, but on an alternate line, if plus 10, I think Maryland will cover that for sure.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Florida's stacked. I mean, Clayton is just a beast.
Right. I mean, he had huge shots at the end of the game there.
Yeah, I'm a homer, but I have to be realistic here. So I'm going to pencil in Florida with you as well, but I won't be surprised if Maryland wins, and I'm rooting for Maryland. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to bet on this game at all. Like, I'm just not even going to put even down like a $1 bet on it because I don't want any part of it.
I don't blame you.
Yeah. Unlike the next game, which I'm definitely going to be betting on, Texas Tech against Arkansas. How do you see this one going? Do you believe in John Calipari magic? Is this March Calipari?
Yeah. So this is going to be the upset that I'm going to go with this Sweet 16 here. Like I said before we got on here, they were ranked very high in the preseason. They had a lot of injuries. They started off very bad in SEC play. I watched the entire St. John's Arkansas game, and I was pissed off the entire game because I really wanted St. John's to win. But it was a bad.
I thought you didn't like Rick Pitino.
Huh?
You're a Rick Pitino fan?
No, I love Kadari Richmond on St. John's.
Oh, okay.
He was he played at Syracuse when he was a freshman, then he transferred. But he's my favorite. He's like my favorite player.
Okay.
And I just thought St. John's was gonna. I thought they'd lose to Florida in the Elite Eight, but I thought they were worthy of winning the championship. But again, I watched the whole game. Arkansas is very athletic. They're just a Calipari team. They just got very high level talented guys. That's what Calipari brings in. He doesn't bring in the transfers. Now he did get the kids from Kentucky to transfer with him. That's different in my opinion. He's got dudes. He's got a bunch of very talented, big, athletic, strong, fast dudes. Texas Tech, I do think is very good. This is a little bit of a gut upset here with Arkansas. I think they're kind of just Calipari might be in like a little fuck you mode to people, and you know what I mean. I don't know. Texas Tech, what they do? I mean, they UNC Wilmington kept it close. They were in the game late in the second half. There was a 10-point game, but it was close. Drake kept the game close most of the game, but Texas Tech has more talent than those two teams do.
Yeah.
They do not have more talent than Arkansas. It's going to even playing field in that part of it. So I just my upset gut pick right here. I'm going with Arkansas this week.
Yeah. I don't know. This one is hard. I haven't really been following Arkansas, but I have been watching a little bit of the Raiders. This Raiders,
Here's the
not the
weird
real
thing.
Raiders.
The weird thing for me is I think Texas Tech could win the championship. Like the championship. I do not think Arkansas can, but I do think Arkansas wins. So that's kind of the weird space I'm in.
Well, for me, I like JT Toppin, right? He's.
Right.
I mean, I think I mentioned this last week. I think he's a great player. He's going to give you points. He's going to give you rebounds. But he actually wasn't even the player of the game the last game. It was actually Darian Williams, who I think had like 28 maybe or 25
Right.
against Drake.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I saw him going off. I did see him going off.
but to your point, Texas Tech, if we're going to keep it real, has had the easiest road besides the top teams like Houston, of course. Well, Houston actually had a tough team against Gonzaga, but they've had an easy road. I mean, first they had to play NC Wilmington, which no one thought was going to win. And then they had Drake, who upset in Missouri, and I thought Missouri was trash anyway. We all picked Drake to beat them. Or at least be an upset friendly type of game. And they beat Drake. Arkansas, I don't know. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. If the Raiders do end up winning this game, they're going to be like, oh, wait, they had Arkansas, which is another easy team to beat because they were an underdog. This is not an underdog team. I mean, I don't care what their record says. I mean, they lost 13 games this year or whatever. Calipari has come alive in this tournament. They shouldn't have beat Kansas, and they sure as hell shouldn't have been St. John's. So as far as I'm concerned, Arkansas are not the underdogs. Okay, they've been playing lights out. And defensively, oh my God, they're holding teams to 28% shooting. I mean, they held St. John's to 28% from the field.
Yeah, St. John's could not score at the rim, period, versus them.
Like, are you freaking kidding me? 28%?
Yeah, it was an impressive performance by Arkansas defensively. Like, just one of the best performances I saw defensively for the year. Essentially, I mean, versus St. John's, and and one thing we haven't said yet is Arkansas is essentially their best player has not played in the tournament, and he's expected back this week. So, Adu Thero, he's a big guy. He averages 16 and 6. He did not play in the two games, and they still won. So, I mean, those numbers are similar to Toppin, not as good, but good.
Yeah.
Arkansas's downfall is they're not a great despite their size and having good big guys, they're not a great rebounding team, and they're an awful 3-point shooting team.
That is a very good point. And when you had said rebounding, I just remembered how many freaking second chances St. John's had. I think, and I'm looking at this box score here, St. John's had 28 offensive rebounds and actually had 51 rebounds that entire game. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But
they
couldn't finish at the rim.
Right. They could not finish over Trevon Brazil. He's 6'10" and lanky as hell. And then the other guy, Adu, he is 6'11". Two big dudes. And then they got their other guy coming back. He's not as tall as them, but he's a lot better player all around. And then you add in their freshman Boogie Fland, who was injured for he just came back for the tournament. And his first game back was the first round. They got Janelle Davis, who was on the FAU Final Four team. He probably was their best player on FAU when they made the Final Four, arguably their best player. So not only do they have those young guys that are very good, they got him, who's probably a fifth-year senior, I would imagine, at this point. And then they also have a 7'2" Croatian who plays a lot. This team is not a 10 seed. What happens is these 8, 9, 10 seeds
Ivicevic, right? That's his name.
Yeah. These 8, 9, 10 seeds are generally your underperforming big schools, Arkansas, or teams that got really hot at the end of the year. And Arkansas is essentially both. So I like Arkansas to pull it off here. Again, you said it's not really an upset, but for all intents and purposes, that's what we can call it.
Yeah. Defense wins championships. Arkansas, I think defensively, what they did to St. John's was crazy. And St. John's is not a pushover school. Texas, this one is very difficult. I'm going to take Arkansas. But then again, right, if Maryland beats Florida, I think Maryland can beat Arkansas.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, if Florida goes down, then this region obviously is the upset region, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Arkansas. I like Arkansas in this one as well. I'm gonna ride with the underdog. I mean, somebody has to get an upset here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking Arkansas money line. I'm not taking the points, so there you go.
Oh, you're not taking the spread?
Nope.
Oh, ballsy. What is that, plus 200 or something?
Yeah, it's 2-1 odds. I'll take that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we have a consensus pick on Arkansas. Let's hope we're not wrong. All right, Houston against Purdue. So I'm a little bit pissed because Gonzaga lost to Houston, even though they played very well against them. But Houston is a stacked team. How do you see this one unfolding?
I think Houston is the second best team in the country behind Florida. So I wasn't high on Purdue. I've been proven wrong. Granted, they did play High Point and then McNeese. So I guess they had, along with Texas Tech, kind of the easy road here.
Yeah.
Not that they crushed either team, because both of those mid-majors are respectable teams.
And McNeese was never really in the game, though. Let's be honest.
Exactly. They got up big and they never let them into it. Whereas McNeese got up big on Clemson and let him back in the game at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know. Purdue, I just know they got the Smith kid and the Hoffman Wren kid that are their two main guys. I just think Houston is, again, absolutely stacked, and Kelvin Sampson just always has his team playing, outworking the other team. It does not matter. They are gonna punch you in the mouth.
Well, I watch Big Ten basketball, so I am very aware of Purdue.
So Purdue's got a third. They have a third good player I see here, Fletcher Lawyer.
Okay.
They only have 3 guys who average double digits. You got the Kaufman Red kid at 20, Smith at 16, and the Lawyer kid at 14. And then there's an enormous drop off. So I think taking 3 guys and putting them up against Houston's rotation that's stacked, I don't see them standing a chance.
I mean, to be honest, you only have really, in my opinion, one good player, and that's Fletcher Lawyer. I mean, because Braden Smith, while he does have average double figures, he can't shoot. Well, doesn't shoot very well.
Isn't he like the Big Ten Player of the Year? Isn't he gonna be maybe?
I don't know. He's a good point guard. 8.5 assists, but he shoots 43% from the field, which I don't think is a high percentage enough. He's and listen, I've watched Purdue played, right? I've seen how they play against Maryland. We beat them. I mean, they've lost to Michigan. They got crushed by Wisconsin. Michigan State gave them the works. I mean, I don't think they're a good team. I think they have a solid team, a team that took them pretty far so far this year, and they got lucky playing High Point and McNeese.
Right.
I think they're going to get their souls crushed by Houston. I honestly think Houston's going to beat them by 10 or more points. I am not impressed by Purdue.
I agree with you completely. I think Houston wins this. What's the spread? What are we looking at on the spread on this one?
Let me see. I don't even have
I'm on ESPN, so they got the ESPN bullshit lines. 8.5. I like Houston on the 8.5.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston, they beat Gonzaga by 5, but
Gonzaga's a tough team.
Yes, for sure. But Houston was controlling the game for the most part. Gonzaga made a very good attempt at a comeback there at the end. I mean, I'm looking at what was it? Houston was up by 11, like 5 minutes to go. Houston led by double digits basically the whole game. They were up early, 31-17, 33-22. Like it was a double-digit game that turned into a 5-point game versus Gonzaga, who's always very, very good.
Yeah.
And we talked about last week, Gonzaga, while it wasn't their standard season where they're like 30-3 or anything like that, the games they lost this season were just like this one. They lost by like 5 points or less. So they were a couple games away from being a top 4 seed, had they just had a different outcome in their close games. So I think Gonzaga is better than Purdue. So
yeah.
But Houston, I got Houston in the championship game, so that's all I got for you.
Yeah, and I ignore what's here on this chart. I don't know why this guy picked.
I can't even see it on my phone.
He picked Purdue to beat Houston. I don't see that. But yeah, I like Houston. And I like Houston with a comfortable margin. All right, and then finally, the Battle of the South. And I think, I always wonder, are these two teams rivalries, or is Kentucky and Tennessee rivalries? Because they're right there.
I mean,
right?
They're both in the SEC, so I mean, they're a rivalry to an extent. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the next matchup. How do you see this one playing out?
I know Kentucky's 2-0 versus Tennessee on the season. And I know it's difficult to beat a team 3 times in any sport in a season. And I know Kentucky has some injuries that haven't cost them yet, but I think this is where it's going to catch up to them. Tennessee's got a very experienced team, very good team, obviously. You're not a 2 seed for no reason. Not like Kentucky's a slouch, but they do have some injuries. Jackson Robinson's out. He's been out. Kryzak, whatever the hell his name is, I think has been hurt. I mean, hold on. Let me see what these scores were. I know Kentucky won twice, but I really don't know what the scores were like.
They won the first game against Troy 76-57, and they beat Illinois 84-75.
Yeah, so I was impressed by the Illinois victory. I will say that. I mean, I honestly thought Illinois was going to win. Mark Pope's done an awesome job this season, an entirely new team. So
yeah.
I do like Tennessee, but you got to feel like it's a toss up, especially, I mean, Kentucky won on the road at Tennessee by 5. They beat Tennessee at home by 11. But again, third time's the charm, I feel like, is the outcome here for Tennessee.
Who is injured?
For Kentucky,
Yeah, on Kentucky. Let's start there.
Jackson Robinson is the number one issue injury wise.
Okay.
He's a transfer from BYU where Pope came from.
Okay. Yeah, and Robinson was a pretty good contributor this year.
Yeah, he's good.
But they got 6 guys who've averaged double figures or more.
Yeah.
So that tells me they're pretty well balanced. I honestly have not watched any of Kentucky or Tennessee's game, so or any of their games all season. So I'm a little bit green when it comes to these two matchups. Although I did pick both of these teams to get this far. I actually think I got this region absolutely correct, except with the exception of McNeese, of course. But yeah, and I had Tennessee actually beating Kentucky here, but honestly, I don't know. I do, but to your point, I do like Mark Pope. I think Mark Pope has done an outstanding job, easily, in my opinion, the coach of the year, given the circumstances that he had to come into. Calipari left, basically gave the middle finger to Kentucky, which I honestly don't know why. Right?
I mean, I think if I remember correctly, people were kind of shitting on Kentucky for the hire.
Well, they shit on everybody, everyone who's not
That's
Rupp,
fair.
right?
That's fair.
I mean, I think they were giving even Tubby Smith a hard time when he was there. Yeah, it's hard winning in Kentucky. Well, it's hard. It's not necessarily hard winning in Kentucky. It's hard having everybody love you in Kentucky for longer than 3 years. And yeah, I thought Calipari did a pretty good job with those circumstances, especially given that every single year Kentucky is expected to, if not get to the Final Four, but to win the whole damn thing. With that being said, I think he's done a fantastic job coming in those circumstances, and to your point, having a brand new team essentially and taking them this far. But I do think this is where the injuries, like you said, to Jackson Robinson is going to catch up, and beating a team 3 times in a row is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
But with that being said, Kentucky has only lost 1 game in like their last 10 games, I believe.
They've won. Yeah, they've been
No,
winning a
sorry.
lot. They lost to Alabama twice and Auburn, but I mean,
I was looking at the schedule the other way around.
They've can't slouch at that.
Yeah.
It's not like they're losing to teams they should beat.
They beat Vanderbilt.
Right. They beat. This is a toss up. My deciding factor is the third game. It's tough to win three straight versus, especially a team you're that familiar with. So.
And I believe Robinson played every game, right? Yeah, he played the first game where they won 78-73. And let me see if he played the second game.
He did not play.
He did not play. Huh. I don't know. This one, yeah, this one may be a toss-up. Well, whoever wins this game is not going to probably win by more than 5 points. Probably, it's probably going to be a very close game. So let me see.
For sure.
Vegas likes Tennessee at 4.5.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll go with Tennessee. Why not? And you're going with Tennessee as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna on these Elite Eight games just make the picks and call it a
Yeah,
good? All right.
yeah. So let's start at the top. Auburn against Michigan State. Who do you like?
Uh I'm going Auburn. Like I said earlier, I think Izzo is great coach, but when he runs into more talent, because Michigan State does not always have the most talented guys, they don't produce a ton of NBA top talent. Auburn's been the best team most of the season. I'm rolling Auburn there.
I'm
How
gonna
about
go with
you?
Auburn. I'm gonna go with Auburn as well.
All right, so we got one seed in the Final Four.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Then Duke and Alabama.
Go ahead,
Well, hold on. Did you choose BYU or did you like Alabama?
Bama,
You
Bama,
like Bama?
Bama.
Okay, okay. I'm going with Duke.
All right, I'm going with Bama. I picked them in my bracket over Duke in that
You
game.
picked Bama.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, honestly, it to me when I was making my bracket, it was a little bit more of this could be a swing game for my bracket. Put Bama in the Final Four. Everyone's going to have Duke. Bama made the Final Four last year.
They did.
Duke has fallen short over the last few years when it comes to like big games in the tournament. I mean, Duke Bama is a huge Elite Eight game.
But
I'm
this
taking
Duke team is
Bama.
better than the last couple of years, though.
For sure. This Duke team is absolutely stacked. I'm taking Bama because I hate Duke and I need them to win for my bracket.
All right. So we have a discrepancy there. All right. Florida against Arkansas.
You know my pick. I've said it both times now. Florida is winning the national championship.
All right. I'm going with Florida as well. Although if it's Maryland that comes out, I'm going with Maryland.
That's fair. I would go that way too. If Maryland beats Florida, I actually like Maryland to beat Arkansas or Texas Tech because
Yeah.
I do think Maryland is a top 10 team in the country.
Yeah. Yeah. And then last but not least, Houston against Tennessee.
Again, I have Florida defeating Houston in the championship. So I'm going with Houston and probably, yeah, definitely going with Houston, like no doubt.
Yeah.
I think Houston definitely could win the championship as well, obviously. So, yeah.
I like Houston as well.
Another reason I picked Bama is I did not want to have 4-1 seeds, so I'm going to take out the team I hate the most, Duke.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
well, we may have. I mean, we may have an Auburn Alabama matchup in the Final Four. I mean, in the championship.
I mean, there could be, yeah, definitely, and there could be, even if it's not Auburn, an SEC final with Florida and Alabama.
Oh yeah. Who knew the SEC would have this many teams in basketball doing good? Because they're not a basketball conference.
No, they're a money league. That's all that matters.
Exactly.
Football's paying for these basketball schools to be great now.
Basically, unless you go to Duke.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I will say Duke is arguably the second or third best team in the country. I just think Bama has the more experienced guys, honestly. I love their coach, Nate Oates. Nate Oates went from high school math teacher / high school coach to Buffalo coach to Alabama at the Final Four.
Not a bad transition.
Not bad. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of people have been bitching about it being a bad tournament because there's not a lot of upsets or anything, but we are getting the powerhouse teams and the best players playing, so I'm not going to bitch.
And the landscape has changed. NIL money has definitely changed the game. So these big schools are going to pay for good players.
I was looking at a post earlier. It was showing the 16 teams and their starting five, like what school they started at.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane. Purdue is the only school that all 5 starters started at Purdue. Michigan State and Duke, both 4 of their 5 starters were not transfers. But if you take out BYU or Purdue, Michigan State, and Duke, and you look, the rest of the teams are just nothing but transfers. And a lot of them are transfers from small schools. I mean, Auburn is starting a guy from Duquesne, Jedi Broom, started at Morehead State. I don't even know what this logo is I'm looking at as their other starter, so I couldn't even tell you what that is. And for me to not know, that tells you something. Arizona has a starter from Campbell, a starter from Oak, Michigan. Alabama has a starter. Alabama starters are from Ohio, Kennesaw State, and North Dakota State, 3 of their 5. So you see what I'm saying? Like the mid majors are here. They've just transferred up.
Well, to be fair about BYU, a lot of those kids had left though when they're coaching.
Yeah, no, that's fair with BYU. Yeah, and I mean honestly, BYU's 3 of their 5 starters who started at BYU, so that's better than. So I said Duke and Michigan State had 4 out of 5. If you go down the line, only BYU and Houston have 3 out of 5, and the rest of them are 2 or less. So it's wild. Wow. I mean, Florida has Iona, Florida Atlantic, and Belmont, 3 of their 5.
And just out of curiosity, how about Arkansas? Did a lot of kids leave for Calipari?
Arkansas has high-level transfers. Their starters are originally Kentucky, Florida Atlantic, as I mentioned, the one kid, and then an Arkansas guy, and then other Missouri and Tennessee. So
not those are all big schools.
Right, other than Florida Atlantic, but that guy was on the Final Four team. So yeah. All the mid majors are getting paid to move up to these schools, and now it's just different. But I still love it.
Blue bloods, they're all blue bloods.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. I mean, this has been another great show. I mean, a lot of in-depth analysis, an hour in. This is good. Good stuff.
All right.
All right, Sean. Well, thanks for joining. I guess we'll have a results show next week and see how we did.
All right. Have a good night. Talk to you later.
All right. You too. Take care.